Then what happened? Well, or then what happened that the new economy theorists hadn't anticipated? Exactly. We didn't take into account the possibility that full employment would reorient our situation. And so as soon as we hit full employment, wages began to rise so rapidly, they overcame the improvement in productivity. And what starts to happen to unit labor costs in the late 90s? It starts to go north. Does everybody see that? It starts to go north. And it starts to go north faster than prices. And if the costs rise faster than the prices, what happens to the profit margins? Does everybody see? And so, if you had been following these data, you would have seen the drama unfold, what I should say, the reasons for the drama we observed earlier. What was the drama we observed earlier? That profit margins began to deteriorate. Remember that? And now if you had just looked at these data, you would have begun to see why. Everybody follow? You would have begun to see why. And you would have said trouble brewing, or profit margins are going to get squeezed because the new economists haven't taken into account of the fact that even though productivity remains high, the wages are rising very, very rapidly. Now, you're going to say, well, Mike, maybe the prices rose just as rapidly. Well, let's take a look. Maybe they were able to get away with it. Prices, once again, doesn't look like much. Change in prices, oh, different story. And you can see that once upon a time, the change, once upon a time, there were huge spikes in prices in 1973-4, when unit labor costs rose very dramatically, and in 1978-9, when unit labor costs rose very dramatically. And then you're going to say, but Mike, it looks like the prices rose pretty well in the late 90s too. So maybe then the prices rose as rapidly as the costs. Well, did they? And the answer was apparently not, because when we took a look at the ratio of prices to costs, remember what had happened? They fell. Remember that? So let's try to get the big picture. Let's try to get the big picture for what happened in the late 90s. In the late 90s, did efficiency improve? Yes. Did profit margins shrink? Yes. Why did the profit margins shrink? Because the wages and salaries were rising so rapidly. Did the new economy advocates anticipate that? No. Why wasn't management able to raise prices, would you guess, more rapidly than they did? Because you might ask, well, why didn't management just raise prices and keep their margins higher? Well, management would always like to raise prices, but what keeps management from raising prices as much as it wants?
Competition.
Competition. You don't know if the other guy is going to raise prices. And while it's true that industry brought in plenty of new plant and equipment, were we now dealing with industry only in the United States? No longer. When you're dealing with technology, you really have to deal with industry all over the world, don't you? And so the problem was management was not able to raise prices here in this country as rapidly as it liked. And so when the costs started rising rapidly here, the cost came up and began to hit the profit margins. Excuse me, hit the prices and squeeze the profit margins. Everybody with me? All right. So that was what happened in the late 90s, and that's what brought an end to the boom. Now, your next logical question is, okay, I get it, but what's happening today? How can I stay in touch with these trends today? Remember, we said that it looked like the ratio of price to unit labor costs, our proxy for profit margins, may be stalling. Okay, let's go to the web.